Coming up next.
My job description, Kim, is I help people smile every day. Yeah. That is essentially what I do. And I can't believe I get paid to do that.
The Job Talk podcast shares stories from people who are passionate and love what they do in their careers. Through conversation, we explore their careers, past work experiences, and the education that got them to where they are now. We are putting together a Career Crisis Ultimate interview series. We are asking experts to give their best advice and guidance around work anxiety, career pressures, career goal setting, and ultimately, career transformation. To learn more about this special interview series and get notified when it's available, please visit our webpage at thejobtalk.com/help.
Today's guest is Dr. Sunny Leong. Here's our Job Talk with an orthodontist. I think if you look at all of the careers, being an orthodontist is probably pretty high on a parent's list for their kid. What was your dream career when you were a kid?
Oh man. Well, I mean, like any Edmonton boy, I always hoped that I would make the Edmonton Oilers and play in the NHL. And I think that's what I told my mom, and she just rolled her eyes. But I'll be honest with you. I actually had braces when I was younger. I'll be able to share a picture with you of what I looked like when I was younger. My teeth were high up. So the canine teeth were high up, and the kids on the playground, whenever I would smile, they would call me the vampire kid. And being an immigrant to Canada, I didn't even know what the heck a vampire was. So I looked it up in the encyclopedia, because that's what we had to do back then. There was no Google, and it was not great. And so I was super embarrassed. I didn't like my smile at all. Not very confident. So mom realized that, as moms do, because they have a sixth sense for everything. And then she loved me enough that she brought me to an orthodontist, and they started fixing my smile. And then I would say in about maybe a month or two, those canines, those fangs, they came down.
Yeah.
And then after that, the kids no longer teased me on the playground. And I felt like, wow, you know what? Man, I love the confidence that I have now. And I feel real good about myself and smiling big and the whole thing. So I went up to mom and I told her, I was 14 at the time, had my braces on. I presented the Oiler career option, and she didn't like that. So I told her, as an alternative, mom, I think I might want to be an orthodontist one day. And she said, son, I'll support you on that one. And you know what? I've been in the field now for 16 years. I still feel like the new kid on the block, but anyway, that's how it went for me. It was very personal. I share that story with a lot of my patients because I don't know. I think as doctors, sometimes we feel like we can't open up, that story and get too personal, but I'm not that type of doctor.
Yeah. So you were an immigrant to Canada. Where were you born?
Well, I tell everybody that I came from Malaysia because everybody knows where Malaysia is. I actually came from a small country near Malaysia called Brunei. We born there in 1980, and then mom and dad were thinking, well, you know what? I think we got to go somewhere for a better life. And dad had a brother already in Canada. And dad was an oil guy, right? So where in Canada do you go where there's oil? Well, you go to Edmonton.
Yes,
so,
for sure.
So we touched down, in February of all months, cold as heck, in 1981. And I remember my parents telling me, well, we'll give it a try for about a week. If we don't like it, we'll go home. And we haven't looked back.
What was your first post-secondary experience after leaving grade 12?
Oh, gosh. I knew, obviously at age 14, that I wanted to go into dental or ortho. But I didn't know if I was ever going to get there. So they much like in life with everything, they throw obstacles your way, and they require you to take all these science courses that you may or may not care about. So physics, chemistry, biology, statistics. Oh my gosh. So I did that for the first couple years. Whenever my friends told me what I was taking at the university, I would always sexy it up and say, yeah, I'm taking pre-dentistry. It just sounds so good, but it's just science courses, right? But anyway, I did that for 2 years, and I don't know, I felt a little lost. I just felt like I was learning stuff, but it wasn't applicable to life. So I pivoted actually, and did something a little bit more near and dear to my heart. I love people, and I love helping people. So I actually applied to both pharmacy and to nursing. And I got into both, and then I decided, the better fit for me actually was nursing. So I was in at nursing at the U of A prior to that, and did about a year, and loved it. I got to see patients, not just as a set of teeth, as some people think dentists look at, but as an individual and as a whole. So did that for a year, and then I got a call. I got a call from a dental school in New York, in Buffalo, New York. And they said, son, we like you. Why don't you come on down and interview, and then we'll see where it goes. So my dad and I, we went all the way down to Buffalo, New York, in the middle of February. And then I did my interview. And then about maybe a week or two later, I got an envelope in the mail. And it wasn't a small envelope, because the ones that are small, that you didn't get in. It was one of the bigger ones. So I opened it, and it said, welcome to the University of Buffalo Dental School. And I ran outside in the middle of February, and I just screamed as loud as I could, because that was one of the happiest days of my life. So
Yeah, but Buffalo isn't exactly a hotspot city either for climate. What's it like being a Canadian and going to university in the United States?
Oh, it was pretty cool. Buffalo, it's close to Toronto. It's close to the border, right? So in a way, it's a little bit like Canada. They got a lot of snow there, but they actually like their hockey, which is great with me. So I spent 4 years at Buffalo. Really enjoyed it. Met people from all parts of the world, from the States, from Canada, because it was a border town. There were a lot of Canadians there too, but from abroad. I mean, there was one from Egypt, one from China, one from India, just great. So did that for 4 years, and finished the degree there. And then I knew that I wanted to do ortho, but they don't teach you that much about orthodontics. It's like a hidden secret. I don't know why. So anyway, I applied to the University of Florida. So I actually was a Gator for a year. It was awesome because I got to learn about orthodontics, but I also got to golf in January and February. And they feel it's too cold when it's 15 degrees Celsius down there. So it was great. So went down there, lived my Florida life for a year, and then and decided, hey, you know what? I really like this ortho stuff. So applied everywhere, and then eventually got into the University of Minnesota, and that's in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis. So that one is very, very much like Edmonton, like E-Town, because they love their hockey. Every high school has a hockey team. They got their big Mall of America, and they got the change of season. So I felt like I was back home, but even there, even though I was in the States, it still sort of felt like Canada-ish. But it really, really opens up your eyes to the world. And, I was very, very fortunate not only to study, but to see, and experience life as well. So not only did I grow up as a person, but I was able to do that while, putting dental knowledge into my brain.
Is it common, like, do you have to study dentistry first? And I think the designation is DDS. Is that correct when you graduate from
Yeah,
dental school?
yeah. Doctor of Dental Surgery. They also have DMD, Doctor of Dental, Medical Dental, or something like that. But yeah, so you have to be a dentist first. So it takes about 4 years. You graduate from a dental school in North America, and then afterwards, then you can specialize.
Okay.
So I did 4 years. You do the math. Did the 4 years of my dental school. Did the 1 year of my fellowship, orthodontic fellowship, and then did 2 years in Minnesota for my actual residency. So that's, what is that, 7 right there?
Yeah.
And then I did 3 years of undergrad at the university. So 2 years of the pre-dentistry, and
Yeah.
then one year of the nursing. So all in all, it was 10 years in. But that pales in comparison to my wife. She's a PhD in animal sciences, and she was in school for about 13 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. With orthodontics, when you're studying it, what's the workload like, first of all? Do people have part-time jobs when they're studying to become an orthodontist, or are you just inundated with studying and how stressful is it?
Well, it was a 2-year program, so you had, not only did you have patients to take care of, you had research that you got to do, and just so many articles that you got to read to up your game.
Yeah.
So I personally didn't have time to do that, and I don't think my student visa, I think it was illegal for me to
Oh, was it? You just have
work.
to concentrate on being a student.
Well, in the States, because I just have a student visa, I can't really do anything. So,
Yeah.
but I did get a little bit of money for teaching. I enjoy teaching, and I did teach at the U of A, but in Minnesota, I did teach a little bit, so they pay you a little bit for that
Yeah.
as well. But it was, yeah, it was a full-time job and then some. So I was not able to work. I don't think most residents are able to. And if they can, then they're made of something special.
Yeah. And what are the courses like when you're going through studying to be an orthodontist? What courses are you literally taking?
Yeah, well, in dental, you're learning a lot about the anatomy, of not only just the head and neck, which is where you are, but the entire body. Like, we actually had to do uh, dissections on cadavers because we were like medical students, really. So your first 2 years in dental school, you're learning a lot of medical stuff, pharmacology, physiology, and all that, just to give you the basis. And then you get more into the dental in your third and fourth year, where you're actually treating patients and doing all that stuff. So it's a slow build. Some people get frustrated in the first couple of years because it's a lot of med stuff. But I guess it's good to know that stuff. Not that I know, not that I can remember all that stuff right now, but I sure did at the time. And then in orthodontics, it's all about how to straighten teeth and how to get there. There's so many ways to get there. Just like I always joke, there's so many ways to get to West Edmonton Mall. Okay, do you want to take the White Mind? You want to take the Henday? Okay, you want to go down 170th? There's so many ways to get there, and you'll find that it's such a gray zone in dental and in orthodontics. So if somebody tells you that there's one way to do it, there isn't.
Yeah. Are you in St. Paul or Minneapolis when you're
I was
down there?
living in St. Paul, but the Twin Cities campus was in Minneapolis. So a huge city. I love it. Like I said, it just reminded me of Edmonton all over. And I think the that being the last stop for me in Minneapolis was good. Because could you imagine if my last stop was in Florida? Do you think I'd do you think I'd be motivated to come back home? I don't know.
Do they know that there is a large mall in Edmonton, the people of Minnesota?
They do, and they know that the Germanians, the ones that built West Edmonton Mall, also built the Mall of America.
Okay. Yeah.
So they do. They know us as the town that Wayne Gretzky played in, and the fact that we got a big old mall. They think their mall is a lot sexier than ours, but I don't know. I like ours.
Okay, so you return to Edmonton. Let's catch up to, could you talk a little bit about your practice now and the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, well, if we were to go back in chronological order, yeah, came back to Edmonton, and And I'll be honest, I got nothing here to hide, and I think that part of the journey is not only success but also failures, right? I think through failure, you find out what you're made of, and you become an even stronger individual later. So I came back to Edmonton, and there was an orthodontist at the time, no names, that I was talking to, and we were thinking of partnering up, which was great. And then just before I was about to start, he called me up on the Sunday and told me I was supposed to start on the Monday, and he said, I had a change of heart, and I don't think that we're gonna do this practice thing together anymore. So I flabbergasted. I came back home, and it was supposed to be a great homecoming. But as soon as I came back home, I got I guess got let go, and I probably was the North America's first ever unemployed orthodontist. I'll be honest with you. It was not a dubious label to have, but
Yeah.
there I was, 10 years of education, ready to rock and roll, ready to straighten teeth, and then didn't have a job. So I was like, oh my gosh, that was a gut punch. But anyway, what happened was word had it on the street that there was a dental practice in Fort Saskatchewan. And unfortunately, that dentist suffered a stroke 3 years prior to, and was in nursing care, 24/7 nursing care, could not practice anymore. So I went and visited the practice, smaller practice, but it's all right, and liked it. I never went to Fort Saskatchewan before. I didn't even know where the heck it was. I thought it was in Saskatchewan, but my bad. Uh, and then, yeah, I bought that practice and flipped it in a month. It became a general practice to an orthodontic practice. And then I remember my first day. I was happy as hell because I had one patient in the morning, one in the afternoon, and I was just beyond myself. I couldn't believe that there were people that actually wanted to see me. So I remember pulling the open sign that day when we opened, and I still have pictures of that day. So that was how the journey started. And then you learn your systems. You figure out about business, which is another story. They don't teach you much about business in orthodontic school. And then 2 years later, I'm from North Edmonton, so I decided to open up a practice near where I was raised in North Edmonton. So did that. So in 2 years, I had one office in Fort Saskatchewan, and then another in North Edmonton. It's almost like baptism by fire. And sometimes when you do those things when you're young, it's probably better that way, because I think when you're a little bit older, you just overthink it. Too much risk. Oh, I don't know about this. I don't know about that. But at that time, I didn't care. And what happened was in Fort Saskatchewan, I started believing in myself. You have doubts. Are you ready to have your own business? Are you ready to treat patients? You don't know. But it went so well in Fort Saskatchewan that I got my mojo on, and then just went from there. So did that for about, I don't know, about a decade plus. And then I get a call one day, and it's from the brother of an orthodontist in South Edmonton, Dr. Darcy Dietz. And his brother calls me because I knew Darcy, and he said, you know what? My brother just passed away. And we think that you're a good fit for the office. It's the right personality and everything. Sonny, could you help us? And there were like 400 or 500 patients in treatment. And I was like, you know what? I can't let them down. It's just in me to help. So I did help out, and then it went really, really well. They embraced us in South Edmonton and decided, hey, you know what? Let's help them out. So in the last 15 years now, we got 3 offices, believe it or not. And that's just how the story went. But from unemployed down on his luck to where I am right now. I'm very, very fortunate. It definitely should have happened to somebody a lot smarter and probably better looking.
No, come on. How how are you succeeding with the business side of things? Because you're an orthodontist, that's what you do, but you
Yeah.
also have to run a business. And
Yeah.
do you have somebody helping you out with that side of things? How does that
Oh,
work?
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lovely a lovely friend. I can call her friend now, and colleague by the name of Daphne Such. So, believe it or not, she is here in Edmonton, but she's an orthodontic consultant. So she knows about the business side. She's been in orthodontics for about 30 plus years now. And I was briefly working with her at the office I was supposed to join, but remember, I got let go. So I met her and said, hey, you know what? I really liked her. So we just started talking about it. And that's how the dream grew. So, you know, yeah, I know the teeth stuff. Well, I mean, you think you know the teeth stuff, of course, but you really don't know much about the business side. But me and Daphne, we just put our heads together and just grew that thing organically. I think it also helps if you have some business sense, and you know, obviously people skill as well. To be honest with you, you know, a lot of my friends ask me, well, how do you run three practices or three successful businesses? Like, where'd you get that learning from? It's a dumb answer, but I think part of it was just my upbringing and the fact that I was involved in students union in high school. I was the students union president, right? And so you have to run that thing like a business. You have people that you have to organize, events that you have to pull out, and you have a budget. So little did I know that when I was in high school, it was slowly but surely training me to do the business side of things, and marketing as well, which is I enjoy it. I really do. There's not a lot of dentists out there that do enjoy it, but I do. So a little bit different, but I had help from Daphne and myself, and I have a lovely associate by the name of Dr. Justin Kim. He just became partner. He just made partner with me a month ago. There's no way that one guy could run three offices like that. So he takes care of a couple. I'm mostly in the South Side one right now, but it does take a team effort. You know, I acknowledge that and love them both.
Let's talk about, you hinted at it, but let's talk about some of the mentors that you've worked with over the years, and maybe you can talk about what they taught you. What were some of the best lessons that a mentor taught you?
Well, I'm thinking back at it right now. There's many mentors along the way. So my apologies if I don't give a shout out to all of them. But uh, there was one in particular, non-dental. She actually, Barb Girolami. She was my junior high gym teacher in Rossland, up north. And you're like, where's this going? So anyway, I was a really good student, okay, and I studied maybe a little bit more than I should have, but I got really good grades because that's just what you do. I don't know, maybe as an Asian kid, immigrant kid, I'm not sure, right? But that's what I did. So I graduated top of my class and was about to leave for high school, and I bump into Barb in the hallway. And she says, "Sonny, come over here. I have something to tell you." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, Barb. What do you want to say to me?" She's like, "I know you're gonna be successful one day." I was like, "Okay, well, thanks, but I just want you to know there's more to life than just books." I really think that where you're gonna grow is if you have more of a balanced life, play some sports, get involved, volunteer. And if you do that, you're going to be stronger than you ever know, and you're going to be even more successful. So it took me back because she essentially told me, you can be, you can be better. What kind of what kind of high school or junior high teacher takes their pupil aside and says, you can be better? But she challenged me, and I accepted that challenge. So in high school, yeah, I was still good in the books, but man, I played sports like I never played before. Volleyball, floor hockey, handball, badminton, you name it. I got involved in the awards committee. I was the MC. My gosh, like I never really talked in front of people before, but I was the MC in the award ceremony, and eventually had the kahunas enough to run for student body president. And had it not been for that moment with Barb back in the day, I don't think I would be half the man that I am right now. So she definitely was just so instrumental. And shout out to all those teachers out there. What you say matters. And sometimes what you say is not easy and it's difficult, but you do it out of love. And Barb, I love you. And I think of you a lot.
Yeah. I have three kids, and I often tell them that the priorities should be school, playing minor sports, and then work, because my oldest has a part-time job at a fast food restaurant,
Yep.
and she gets stressed out with her job. And I keep telling her that you need to have the experiences of playing minor sports and then worry about working when you graduate from grade 12, because the rest of your life it's all about work. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Which
It's
leads me.
true. And you know what? And good for her for dipping her toes into working life that young. You know,
Yeah.
I did too. My first job, believe it or not, Kim. I was what the hell was I? I was in grade 10. I was 15 at the time, and I just applied to some random job, a student's job for the summertime, and it was it was door to door sales.
Yeah.
I was selling greeting cards before there were greeting cards in the dollar store, so I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea,
Yeah.
right? But here I am selling these greeting cards for like $16, and you get three greeting cards, which is a ripoff now, right? When you think about it, because you go to the dollar store and get one for a dollar or two for a dollar.
Yeah.
But anyway, it made me it made me realize the not the importance of money, but how hard it can be to make that dollar. But you know, when you're doing door to door, Kim, like you got to make sure that you're able to present your product very clearly and in 30 seconds, or you get that door shut in your face. So I think that's again, it helped me with business as a business individual right now, business owner, because you're having to make those connections out in the world with general dentists who are your referrals or you know, people like yourself.
Yeah.
But you know, those lessons that I learned when I was 15 to 16, like they were so instrumental, so key into building me where I am right now.
What are some obvious misconceptions about orthodontists out there?
Um, that uh, that they're boring. Uh, I mean, like orthodontists are smart people, but I think they're sometimes too smart. I think we forget sometimes that we're dealing with people. So I think sometimes they come across as, you know, maybe a little bit cold, maybe too smart. The other perception I think is like, oh man, you're working in somebody's mouth. Isn't that gross? I mean, when you say it like that, yeah, maybe. But I'll be honest with you. My job description, Kim, is I help people smile every day.
Yeah.
That is essentially what I do, and I can't believe I get paid to do that.
That's
Right?
amazing.
Not only are you giving them a smile, you're giving them self confidence. You're helping them maybe uncover the individual, the person that they want to be, and they can't do that because they were afraid of their smile. And I'll share with my picture afterwards what I looked like before. But it makes a difference. It really does. So to be honest with you, it's not about teeth. It's not about teeth. It's about people and watching them grow.
Could actually, that's a good segue into, could you describe your most successful orthodontic case?
Oh man, you know, I don't know if I have a most successful one. But okay, yeah. So there was one kid. Um, she also went to Roslyn Junior High. I actually reached out to Barb, my teacher, my mentor, and I said, "Hey, Barb, you know, I wanna do a free orthodontic case to somebody at the school, that we both went to, and I want to do it because it's the right thing to do. And I want to choose somebody who maybe does not have the economic means to pay for this. So just giving it back, right? So we did choose one patient, and her teeth was a mess. She was very, very shy, hated to smile, had a good heart, of course. So anyway, we presented it to her. She was super, super excited, just beyond thrilled that she was getting orthodontic treatment for free. And I watched, we fixed her teeth, made her smile to a point where she was able to blossom.
Wow.
And she was a lot more confident, a lot more stronger. And the work that we did for that one patient, it just helped her. But, honestly, like, it helped me. It helped me, and it made me decide that, you know what, it's not about the money. We're all going to do well. Okay, it's going to be okay. But if you can help those that are less fortunate. So, for example, right now I am the Western chair for this organization called Smiles for Canada. So essentially, we're treating all Canadian kids all across the country. They submit online their photos and their economic situation, and then my committee looks at it and determines, well, who rightfully so deserves this. So that I've been with the organization now for about, I think, 5-6 years, and we have treated successfully over 400 deserving young kids in Canada, and gave them the smile. So for all those out there listening, if you want the best smile for your kid, but you can't necessarily afford it, go to smiles for the number 4 Canada.ca and submit. And you never know.
Yeah. Giving back. I love it. You've also traveled the world providing volunteer dental work as well.
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
talk about some of your experiences with that?
Yeah, it was in dental school, and I got selected to go to a dental volunteer trip in Belize, believe it or not. So we went there, and I didn't tell my mom at the time, but we were working out of a prison. I don't think she still knows, so I hope she's not listening. But we were working out of a prison, and we're given, and look, I don't know what they did to be in there, but they're still people, and they still deserve dental care. So we did volunteer dental work in there, and it was great. It filled my heart. And it made me decide that, hey, you know what, regardless of what I do in the future, private practice, whatever, there has to be that component of it, to make it, for me, just to keep it real and to remind us that, this is why we do what we do. So from that one, then there is an organization here in Canada called Kindness in Action. And so Dr. Dave Maskell, a really good friend of mine, a dentist, a previous dentist in Redwater, a huge Oiler fan, by the way, too. We connected, and he and I, my wife as well, and some of my other friends, we've been on about 8 dental volunteer trips over the last decade plus, to Guatemala, Peru, been to Cambodia, Nicaragua, Belize again, Colombia, you name it. We're thinking about heading to Ecuador at some point. So you go down there, and it really changes your perception on things. The people down there, they don't got much. In fact, they walk to your clinic bare feet sometimes for 3 days, because we're out in the sticks. Okay, we're out in the jungles and all that. And if you don't provide the dental care for them, then they don't see a dentist. And, some of the strongest patients I've ever seen were from out there. I mean, there was a kid, I think I was removing maybe 4 or 5 decayed teeth on him. So if you don't remove them, it's going to be a huge infection. His health is going to decline and all that. So we had to get those things out. So we were not able to numb him up just because he had so much infection. So I actually did remove the teeth. I don't know if he was anesthetized fully. We tried our best, but we did remove all the teeth, and he took it like a champ. Yeah, there was a tear rolling down his eye, But we did all 5, and he gave me a hug afterwards. And I was like, my gosh, this 5-year-old can do that. I tweak a tooth on a patient here and they start crying. I was like, wow, their pain threshold is something else, right?
Wow.
So, it's stories like that, things like that that remind you, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And those volunteer trips out there are fun. If there are any dentists listening to this too, I would invite you to Kindness in Action. It's a great way to meet lifelong friends. You have to close your clinic down for about a week or two, which means that you're not making any money. But you know what my best friend Jeff Stewart from Rig Hand Distillery in Leduc, what he told me one day was, it's just money.
Yeah.
I laughed at him at the time, but it's so true. But what we get out of those volunteer trips is more than any money that you can make ever, because it does fill up your cup with love and gratitude.
That's amazing. When you look over your entire career, has there been any surprises to you?
I just like personal surprises, or just like
Yeah.
about the career, or just like about my journey, or what do you think?
Anything unexpected that you experienced that you never thought you would have if when you decided to become an orthodontist?
Yeah, I think you know I always like helping people, but going into orthodontics, a lot of orthodontists are private practice, meaning that they got to run a business. They have to hire employees, answer the phone like I did when I didn't have any employees when I first started. I think the business side of it was something that it's in the back of your mind, but you don't know too much about it. And luckily enough, I had that training in high school with the Students Union and whatnot. It really did prep me for some of those journeys and some of the things that we had to face and challenge. But I think the business aspect of it is something that a lot of not just orthodontists, but general dentists in particular really don't think much about. It takes time. And if you don't have the skill, I would recommend getting a consultant like I did, so that they can sort of show you the ropes. You're going to make mistakes either way, but at least you can make some of those mistakes while trying your hardest to be, a really, really good business owner. So I think that was one aspect. And the other aspect too is just like, look, I'm not the same orthodontist I was 15 years ago. Back in the day, you you were putting brace one by one on teeth, and you had molds or models of your teeth, and you're trying to look at them. So it's so different now. Everything has gone digital. So instead of having molds that I'm holding in my hand, I have a digital mold. So we 3D scan your teeth. We don't use that goopy crap and put in your mouth that everybody hates, right? We 3D scan your teeth. It goes on my iPad, and literally I play a video game. I tell my patients all the time, the kids love it. I play a video game like Roblox with your teeth and design your smile. And then once we do that, if we're using the Invisalign, the robots actually 3D print, these Invisalign trays for you and get your teeth straighter. And then when you say that, they're like, what? Even the parents who had they were brace face back in the day. They're like, holy cow, things have changed.
Yeah.
And even now too, we're not even using the same metal braces. For me, again, you have to embrace technology, and I'm more of an earlier adopter. So we're actually doing 3D printed braces that are custom printed to the anatomy of every single tooth that you have. And so to me, it's like a video game every day, and you're using technology to deliver dental care and orthodontic care that was, way faster, way more efficient than it was before. So the other part is just being a lifelong learner. Like you don't want to be the same dentist. You don't want to be the same orthodontist that you were 5 years ago. You have to keep on pushing the needle and getting better and better. So I think just having continuing education and, going to meetings, learning new techniques, having the courage to actually do those and implement them. And I think that's another thing that has kept my mind really, really sharp, and it just keeps the job, the career more interesting because it's forever changing, right?
Yeah. Can you summarize what you love about being an orthodontist?
Oh man, I mean that's a loaded question, but honestly, it's the people, and like I said, my job description is to give them the best smile possible, and to help them smile every day. But you see these young kids, they grow up, they have their personalities, they end up getting married, and they send you their wedding photos, and you're like, man, that smile I made for them, that's with them forever. And I was with them on one of the most important days of their life. So just being able to see that and connect with them, even many, many years later, some still come back to the office, they give me a hug. They were so short before, but they're way taller than me at this point. It doesn't take much, by the way. Okay, but just to see them grow and become the people that they want to become, and express their full potential, and to know that I was just a small part of that. That is very, very satisfying as a healthcare professional. There's no other better feeling than to know that you did good.
Well, through all your volunteer work and the practice that you're doing now, thank you for making this world a better place. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast for us today. Really appreciated it.
Well, I appreciate Kim, and if there are anybody has any questions out there, and we're talking about mentors before in closing. If there's anybody out there that thinks, hey, you know what, maybe orthodontics might be for me. Maybe that dream might come true. My dentist at the time, Dr. Bruce Newman out of St. Albert, he took me under his wing and let me volunteer at his clinic. I actually did approach another dentist who was my dentist when I was young, and I asked him if I could just volunteer, because I think it's when you're young you just need to expose yourself to a lot of things. But he actually did not let me volunteer at his office, which was surprising. Now, he told me that my grades weren't high enough. So when you're a 17-year-old and your dentist tells you that, you're thinking, oh my gosh, well, maybe I can't be a dentist one day, right? So I was nursing at the time. I met Bruce while I was doing first aid, and I just desperate, because I wanted to be a dentist and orthodontist so bad, but I just didn't have anybody there to mentor me. So I just asked him, hey, Bruce, I could pay you if you want, whatever you want. Could I just come to your office and just see what dentistry is all about? And he's like, sure. I'm like, what? You're going to let me come to your office? He's like, yeah. Why don't you come next Friday? So I did. And, we ended up being really, really good friends, but he took me under his wing. And I think that's what we need more of, is just to say, hey, you shouldn't judge these kids. You don't know what potential that they have, right? So to Bruce out there, again, much love. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. But just having those mentors out there. So if there's anybody out there that might think that they might want to consider orthodontics as a career, or nursing or something, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Let them know that you heard me on this lovely podcast here. And you never know. Maybe it's not, maybe it is for you, and that's great. And maybe it's not for you, but it gets you thinking about your future. I think that that would be one of my lasting legacies that I'd like to leave to everybody. Is just, you know what, let's just all try to help one another, and just try to build those kids up, when they're very young like that, because they sometimes don't know what they can achieve, but you just have to believe in them, right? Just take that step. It's not that much. It doesn't cost you much. But just, I don't know, if you can, just do it, right? And Kim, like yourself, have you had have you been a mentor, or have you had a lot of mentors along the way to bring you to this position? Because, who leaves their job of 20, 30 years at NAIT to do a podcast, right?
Yeah, a crazy person.
What's yours done?
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And hopefully maybe in 2023, we'll be celebrating a Stanley Cup win by the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, here we go. Drop that puck. Let's get started. Let's go. Let's go, Oilers.
Thanks, Dr. Sunny.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you for tuning in to the Job Talk podcast. For more information, please visit us at thejobtalk.com. Our podcast music was created by our friend Mike Malone in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.